Welcome to MCN and the brand new KTM 990 RCR. Just before we hit the road here at its world launch in Seville, just thought I'd show you a few little bits to show that it's more than just a 990 Duke with a fairing. It's actually very, very different. Starting with the engine, it's got more power, 128 bhp from its 947cc parallel twin. It's got more power than its competition, namely the Panigale V2 and the Yamaha R9. More power than a 604. More torque as well, and that's been done with electronics basically. This allows the throttles to go to 100%, whereas on the 990 it's slightly restricted. Still got a trellis steel frame, but it's a lot beefier to handle track work. But then the swing arm has got more flex in it for more grip and more feel. The bodywork, obviously all new, a lot of aero there. Looks very much like KTM's MotoGP bike. A lot of MotoGP styling cues. Got these droopy wings, which KTM say that at nearly 240k produces about 13 kilograms of downforce. You've got these extra scoops down here. That's for cooling rather than ground effect. You've got more scoops just underneath the belly pan there, which KTM says helps stability under braking. Got a steel fuel tank which has been moulded to help the rider grip on under braking, cornering and everything in between. Got a new seat which is kind of sculpted up at the back to keep you in. Comes on Michelin Power Cup 2 track day tyres, which are really grippy. And then we've got Brembo High Pure calipers, which we first saw on the Panigale V4S for 2025. So they're state of the art as it happens at the moment. Brembo master cylinder, braided lines. Then one of the really interesting things about this bike is it's got an 8.8 inch colour dash. So I'll run you through the functions later on when we're riding, but that's it's got the kitchen sink thrown at it in terms of functions. New switchgear, new 48mm WP forks with 30-stage rebound and compression damping. So we've got these preload adjusters, which only got 3 positions to make it easier to adjust the preload. At the rear, there's a link now on the rear shock, and the whole thing's got a real cool MotoGP look about it. The screen is relatively tall, it's good for taller riders, but quite narrow as well. So you can get off to the side and you haven't got a big screen in the way of your head. As you can imagine, this has got every electronic rider aid bell and whistle known to man, but still has demo mode. So basically a lot of those electronics will disappear after 1500 kilometers and you've got to pay to get them reinstated. Some of the details I like on this bike: adjustable foot pegs. You undo the bottom screw there and you can move the pegs back and forward, up and down. I love these little vents in the fairing, very MotoGP, and just generally it's really well finished, really nicely designed, and I can't wait to ride it. So before I set off, just show you the dash quickly. 8.8 inch dash, got everything you need on it. Beautifully large display, quite horizontal. It's getting more and more like an old Hillman Avenger, isn't it? But also you got a new switchgear mode button here. Very quickly goes through the rider modes, the nice little colour graphics. And then you've also got an inbuilt sat nav, which you can download maps from your phone, so you don't have to link your phone to the sat nav. So there's a favourite in here. We've been riding this on the road all day. The bikes have been kept at the circuit where we're going to be tomorrow. So heading back to the circuit now. There you go. Nice widescreen display for the sat nav. And I think you can make it bigger actually as well, so it's completely on there, and it's touchscreen. One of the best things about this bike for me is how roomy it is. It's a really civilized sports bike in terms of its layout, you know, and in terms of its engine and everything as well. Oh look, there's some KTMs. So there's lots and lots of leg room. There's lots of room to move back and forward in the seat, and the bars are really nicely splayed and they're not too low. I would say that of all the new generation Supersport bikes and traditional Supersport bikes, this is by far the roomiest and the most comfortable. It kind of makes the most sense as a road bike. So that's one big tick. Mirrors are probably the only thing you can criticise on this bike, I'd say. Proper 90s Ducati superbike style, MV style mirrors. where you can only see your elbows. But if that's the only wrong thing on this bike, then they've done a very, very good job. The screen, nice and tall, there's no buffeting, and then you've got the engine, really tractable. It's really friendly, got the different rider modes. In track mode, got a lovely crisp throttle response. The gear quick shifter crackles that little bit more. It's sensational. It's the most powerful of all of its rivals, but it still isn't silly power. So it's still nice and friendly. It doesn't try and ride you. You know, it's just got, it's approaching that kind of perfect amount of power for a sports bike. There's a nice little grumble to the engine, nice little burble on the overrun. So it's an interesting engine. It's very characterful. You know, riding through these little towns at low speed, I've no doubt after a few miles I'm going to be doing the old propping your elbow up on the fuel tank to take the weight off your wrists. And you've got cruise control as well, so that helps it as a road bike. I mean, in terms of managing this bike at very low speed, it's a piece of cake. Clutch is light, the throttle response really nice. It's light, doesn't feel like there's any weight to this bike. It's very friendly, very refined. The ride quality on these cobbles is really good. The WP suspension is not electronic, just mechanically adjustable. But you know, whether you're going on these cobbles or through nice twisty roads, there's lots of control, lots of grip on these Michelin track day tyres. Probably not so much when it's cold in England, but when you've got ambient temperature up in these towards 30 degrees, they're absolutely superb, and they're even graining up a little bit as they would be on a track day. In terms of handling and the way it steers, well, it's no surprise, it's absolutely pin sharp. KTM know how to make fantastic handling bikes. You know, whether it's the small Dukes, the Super Dukes, or Grand Prix bikes, the stability, this bike is absolute. Steering is light, very accurate, just goes where you want it to go. Combined with such an easy to manage engine, getting anywhere quick from A to B is an absolute piece of cake. Brakes are really good, these high pure calipers. They haven't got an immense initial bite. The initial bite is relatively weak, but then harder you pull them, before your eyeballs start to want to leave the skull. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they'll be on the track tomorrow, and also how the engine's going to be. When it's lovely and tractable and easy on the road, but how's it going to be around the track? You've ridden the R9 and the Panigale V2 around this same Seville circuit, and Panigale was definitely more suited to track work straight out the crate, just because the engine likes to rev and the MT09 engine in the R9 doesn't. We all know that that could be altered. Manzi's just won the World Supersport Championship, so Yamaha's not too shabby. So it'll be interesting to see how this KTM compares. It's a lot of fun. I'd still say it's not as much fun as a screaming inline four, but we've had our chance to buy those. They still exist if that's really what you want, but you know, for a twin it's got a lot of character, deep engine note, some crackles and bangs when you're quick shifted and coming off the throttle. It's just a really nice sports bike. At no point do you ever think I wish it had a bit more. So 46 minutes, 59k to the circuit now. Carry on enjoying this bike as a road bike. I think it's really impressive. Doesn't have any compromises in terms of its riding position and its power or electronics. It just does everything very easily, very user friendly, and it's just a pleasure to ride. Nothing there. Can't wait to ride it on track tomorrow. Right, it's day 2 of the KTM 990 RCR test. We're at the Seville circuit, and they're going to be riding on track all day. Yesterday's road ride was fantastic. KTM have got the recipe for a new generation Supersport bike just right in terms of how comfortable it is, the performance, the fun, the equipment and everything in between. And now we're going to see what it's like on track. So we've got quite a few sessions today. I think we've got 7 30-minute sessions. We're going to be on Michelin slicks, track day slicks. We can change the bikes around today. We're going to put the bike on race shift. We also rode the R9 and the Panigale V2 here earlier in the year, so it'd be good to get a comparison for its main competitors. So the sun is on its way up, and I'm going to get ready for some fun. So while we're here in Seville, KTM announced that they're going to be producing this 990 RCR track, which is due to come out in February, and the cost is thought to be £15,900, although that's TBC. So this bike comes with a lot of race kit goodies, from rear sets to exhausts, a different dash and everything in between. But quite interestingly, what KTM are also doing is running a 6-race European One Mate Championship 2026, which is going to cost €7,500 to take part in. And for that, you can race your track version or your standard road version. You get entry fees, you get tyres, spare wheels, suspension upgrades, race parts, and even your own KTM mechanic. So the full details will be out around about February 2026 time. So the sun is going to be setting soon on our 2-day ride of the new KTM 990 RCR. There's one there with test rider Jonas Folger, ex-MotoGP star, doing some skids and wheelies. That's what we like to see. Is it one of the best new generation real world Supersport bikes out there? So let's go through what we think makes the perfect road going Supersport bike first. And the first question we'd ask is it comfy? So one of the reasons that, you know, the likes of the R6 and ZX6R, CBR 600RR, GSXR 600, the reason those bikes never really survived is because as the average rider was getting older, they'd find it hard to double themselves up in half to fit on those little tiny Supersport bikes. And the new generation Supersport bikes like the R9 and the Panigale V2 and now this are supposed to address that problem. So the answer is a resounding yes to the KTM. It is comfy in the real world. So you've got loads and loads of leg room, and the pegs are adjustable as well, 2-way. So you can put them up for the track for more ground clearance if you want. But there's loads and loads of room for a tall rider like me with dodgy knees. Very comfortable. You could do the long haul on this. Nice seat room as well. And although the bars aren't adjustable, they're nice and wide and nice and splayed. The wind protection is fantastic with a tall screen, very low wind buffeting. Gotta love a skid, and very protective on the track as well. So in terms of living with this bike and doing a really nice kind of 4, 5, 6 hour Sunday ride, you're not really going to have any problems on the KTM. So as far as its kind of real world practicality in that respect, it's a big tick. It's also got a lot of nice little features that make the KTM nice to live with. Mainly this new dash, this 8.8-inch dash, nice and colourful, nice and easy to read. One of the great things about it is got sat nav like a lot of colour dashes have now, but you can download the maps, so you don't have to have your phone linked to it. So if you're riding abroad, you don't have to spend a fortune in data. You don't have to have 2 apps running at the same time like a lot of systems, so your phone doesn't boil over. So that's a really good feature. And we'll come on to the prices of these bikes later, but this is cheaper than the Panigale V2, which is a fantastic bike. But with the Panigale, you look down at the dash, and although the dash is okay, it's very much the kind of economy version of the V4 Panigale. And you spent all that money, you want kind of the best of the best, and this dash here really makes a big difference to the kind of the ride, riding experience. Then you've got cruise control, but that's extra, but that all helps the job along. You've got a quick shifter, and generally there's just lots of nice bits of attention to detail. The way the switch gear works, one mode button to change everything. There's fewer stages to get into the menus now. It's a really, really lovely thing to ride on the road, the KTM. This modified engine, it's got more power, which is fantastic on the track, which will again come to later. But as a road bike, you want an engine with character. You want an engine that is kind of an oral feast, something with grunt, something that pops and bangs and crackles. And this 990 parallel twin does all of the above. Power delivery is very smooth. There's lots of torque. The throttle response is perfect. You've got different riding modes. And with the quick shifter, really does crackle, although the quick shifter's extra as well, which is one thing KTM haven't changed, is having to pay extra for electronics, unfortunately. But in terms of normal real world speeds, this engine is a gem. It's probably a little bit more characterful than the Ducati V-twin engine in the Panigale, which is quite utilitarian, quite serious, and it's just got a little bit more soul than the Yamaha R9 Triple. In terms of road handling, it's no surprise this thing handles beautifully. I mean, KTM haven't made a Supersport bike for a long time, but even the old RC8 was a crisp handler, and Super Dukes and Dukes and everything in between really handle well. So on the road, it's very light steering, it's very accurate. There's lots of grip from these Michelin track day tyres. The loads and loads of confidence. The more you push, the better it feels. The high pure Brembos, fantastic. Quite a soft initial bite, but the more you pull them, the more powerful they are. You don't run into any ABS problems or any wooden feeling problems like you do on a lot of bikes with cornering ABS nowadays. So in terms of handling and getting through your favourite set of bends, absolutely beautiful. The suspension's nice and plush as well. Very easy to adjust. You know, you've got little dials on top of the fork legs to adjust your damping. You've got 3-stage preload, which adds plus or minus 3 mil, which is really easy to understand. Easy to access rear shock adjustments. But out of the crate, as we've been riding it on the road, you wouldn't really want to change everything. So in terms of handling, that's a big tick as well. And you know, this bike will suit any riding style. You can be accurate and flowing like Pedrosa, or you can grab it by the scruff of its neck and ride it hard like a Costa. One of the big things with KTM is obviously the much publicised problems that they've had in the past with camshafts for early versions of this engine. So some of the 790s, some of the 890s, on a very small batch of bikes, it's got to be said. There was an oil feed problem to the camshafts, and that led to all sorts of problems which perhaps KTM didn't deal with as well as they could. But those issues have been resolved for this 990 engine, and there's no reported problems with this 990 engine. And to kind of encourage people to get more confidence in KTM, because that's not going to be done overnight, and this engine's got a stigma attached to it. You know, whenever we talk about these bikes online, the cam question comes up all the time. But KTM are offering a 4-year warranty on this bike, so long as you get it serviced at a KTM dealer, which is how all warranties work anyway. The valve service intervals are 37,000 miles, which is fantastic as well. And you get a year's free roadside assistance when you buy the bike, but then you get another one after a year if you get it serviced with KTM, and another one and another one and another one, up to 8 years or 50,000 miles, whichever comes first. So that should help towards the confidence of getting a bike like this. Of course, this is a new generation Supersport bike. Eventually, these bikes are going to be raced on track in Supersport thanks to balancing rules. I mean, at the moment, this isn't homologated to race a British Supersport or World Supersport, but it surely will be in the future. In fact, it's allowed in club racing at BMC in 2026. This is going to be allowed to race. KTM are ready to race, and all the things I've said about it, about the road bike, you know, how it is on the road so far, doesn't really scream ready to race. It screams a really nice, easy, characterful road bike. But it is a fantastic track bike as well. It's very easy to ride, just like on the road. It feels relatively soft on the track, so it's kind of more towards an R9 that we've ridden here at Seville earlier in the year, and the Panigale. It doesn't feel quite as sharp. The Panigale definitely feels sharper because it's got a stiffer chassis, and the more you push that, the more it really talks to you. And the engine is a little bit harder hitting and a little bit more rev hungry. But it's very difficult to tell how this will compete against the Yamaha and the Ducati in isolation, because parallel twins, V-twins, triples, they're deceptively fast anyway because they don't absolutely scream to the moon. So it's going to take a group test really to separate these bikes. But riding this bike in isolation, again, it's easy to ride because there's loads of room to move around. The brakes are fantastic. It's got loads of grunt coming out the corners, tons of grip. Today we were on Michelin Power Slick 2s, which are basically road compound track day slicks with kind of slick versions of the road tyres. These have lasted all day with us. We did 7 30-minute sessions and it's still good to go. So, you know, bikes like this are very kind on their tyres, and on track it's just really good fun. I'll admit that this and the R9 and the Ducati, if you're used to a bigger bike, or if you're used to a Screaming 4, it doesn't quite light your fire in the same way. You don't come in from the track absolutely giggling your head off, but the fun and enjoyment comes from being precise and keeping up your momentum around the track and nibbling away at your lap times. Big lean, big corner speed, that's what these bikes are all about. Not necessarily blowing your hair back excitement. On paper, at least, this is going to really challenge its rivals. So it's cheaper than the standard Ducati Panigale V2, so a lot cheaper than the V2S. It's got more power and more torque. It's slightly more expensive than the Yamaha R9, but again, it's more powerful, it's got more torque, and it's got better brakes, a much more comfortable riding position than the Yamaha, which is still quite cramped. It doesn't feel too dissimilar from an R6. And overall, the way this is built, the build quality, the attention to detail with all the paintwork finishes and the aero and everything in between, I would say makes this this a fantastic value new generation Supersport bike. So are there any downsides with the new KTM 990 RCR? It's fantastic on the road, really good fun on track. If you have to be really picky, the mirrors are terrible. All you can see is your elbows, like an early MV Agusta F4 or a 90s Ducati Superbike. There's a little bit of heat that comes from under the seat where the fans are blowing the engine heat up towards you. But again, we're here in Seville, it's 32 degrees, and it's something we probably wouldn't even notice back in the UK where it's colder. I suppose the only thing that sticks a little bit is the fact that you don't get all the electronics in with the price, and all the electronics are in the bike anyway. All they have to do is be connected up to a computer for them to work. So, you know, apart from that, pretty well sorted. It's a fantastic bike, but it would be nice if some of those electronics came included, because when you look at even something like a Tracer 9 GT, that's got the kitchen sink thrown at it. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but I don't think it would take much just for a bit of feel good for KTM to include those. So really, in a nutshell, I think KTM have really done a fantastic job with the 990 RCR. It's everything a new generation Supersport bike should be. It's comfortable, it's easy to ride, it's fast, it's really well equipped, it's fantastic on track. Although the problem remains that if you took this on a fast group track day, the closing speed from a superbike is still going to be pretty severe. It'd be great if track day had capacity or power groups, but we've talked about that before. But that aside, great on track, great on road. This has been a year in the making, really. This should have come out last year because of KTM's insolvency problems and everything that's happened to them. It might never have seen the light of day, but we're really glad it has. It's a fantastic bike. I can't wait to ride it again. We'll be pitching it up against its rivals soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again very soon.